may be. And the bigger question is, do we need more seats? How many did we have at maximum? Hello, I would think maybe 120, 130, and that's what that room seats. So,
Well,
yeah, we should make it fit the maximum.
yeah, my thought is, I could be not even in left field, I would not even be in the ballpark. I agree with that.
I'm sure you are, but that's okay.
With it being first floor, closer to the parking than actually sign it, we may get some additional people. May.
Yeah, that was the thinking that when we moved here, we grow in size.
Right.
But wishful thinking, I hope you're right, but.
Well, I'm thinking, we can have, last time I read about 110 families. So.
And half of which don't even come on Rosh Hashanah.
Absolutely correct.
Some of them don't even live in Rochester.
Let's say 100 with 100 families in theory, in most cases, that gives us the potential of 200 people.
Yeah, but some of those families are single people
Some are
families.
single, some have kids.
Yeah. But I counted.
But I'm saying, so if we had seating, have enough seating for, let's say, 150.
Yeah.
I would say that would probably be sufficient.
Yeah, I would think so. I would definitely.
But I don't think they want to have fewer than 150.
You see those books there?
Yeah.
Those,
Here's,
yeah,
I don't think.
well, a lot of people do.
Oh, yeah.
But the point being that we produced about 180, and I had 120 left over. Yeah, and I think I counted the seating at Sinai. You know, I counted all, the maximum. I don't think they had more than
Good morning,
150.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. How was your trip?
Great.
That's good.
Kind of short.
No kidding.
More time in the air than on the ground?
33 hours door to door coming home.
How many?
33.
There was one way or round trip?
One way, coming home, door to door.
So it was roughly 65 air
Yeah,
flying time.
So not all of it flying time. You know, I'm including leaving my brother's house to get to the airport,
I like
waiting
this.
at the airport.
Yeah.
But most of it flying time.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's
That
a lot.
is a lot.
It's far. It's far.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Yeah. And all, and no wear and tear as a result, so.
No.
Your glasses are fogging up.
Yeah.
Welcome to Rochester.
Thank you. It's nice and sunny today. That's nice.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't bring a second pair of shoes. I'm wearing my.
Well, you know, I had a bad incident a few years ago walking in the parking lot when there was a dusting, but it was very cold. There was black ice underneath the dusting.
Yes.
So since then, especially in this parking lot, I try to walk where it's not being shoveled, where the snow is thick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so because of that, I didn't want to schlep in the extra snow to here. I try to kick it off and scrape it off. Rather not make a puddle underneath myself.
The worst I ever had with black ice, I was living in Penfield, working at Xerox in Rochester. I'm on my way home, heading south on Route 250, and it looked clear, looked absolutely clear.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I hit black ice. I was heading south in the northbound lane.
Yeah.
And then I was heading north in the southbound.
Yeah.
And managed to pull off the side of the
Just a few weeks ago.
Well, this was
Just a few weeks ago.
30 years ago.
with my snow tires on, I made a turn. All of a sudden, the rear of the car spun out from behind me. I could only assume those black eyes.
I was going like this, I went like this, and then I went like this, and then I ended up in the shoulder.
That's what once happened to me on I-84. And as I was in Connecticut, it's a big interstate in Connecticut, the main interstate, and as I was facing the wrong way on this major interstate, I could see all the other cars coming at me, sliding all over the road to avoid me. You've got to be slow and careful.
Well, that's one reason there's so many accidents. People don't know enough to slow down.
You know, I experience both. I often experience people, especially in SUVs, when they think that they are invincible, driving like maniacs. And I experience sometimes people driving what feels like so slow that it's unsafe as well.
The only thing you can be safe on is driving a tank.
Totally. Totally. Or if you stay at home. Okay, so there's a... Oh, wait, one of them is full.
Well, this is all from that, and that's no good. You need any help with anything? I hope we have enough people here to manage the whole world.
Well, it's not, it's what they're,
I think that's it.
That's a good question. It is coming up very, very soon.
Do you think I should turn the fans on? Fans are not on. I can't hear them.
Rabbi, what's the date for Purim? It's only a couple of weeks away, right?
It's not that far. I can look it up. I don't
No,
remember.
that's okay, that's okay.
But I can look
It should be in the law right here.
Exactly. What's today?
Today is the 4th. I think it's within a couple of weeks.
I thought it was in March.
No, Passover is at the end of March. Would you believe it?
You tell me I believe it.
What is that? Chodesh Adar is February 21st. It's the 14th of Adar, so it's going to be 2 weeks after this. That's the 28th, ought to be around March 7th.
Yeah, really?
March 6th is the eve of Purim.
Okay, it's the first week of March. I stand corrected.
so I don't know, even know why I'm saying this, but during my work at the library, the woman who's in charge of adult programming for Temple Sinai in Indiana, and I've been helping her with reference questions related to the Purim spiel that they're doing. And she also wanted to know if as we're trying to locate a movie about Sephardim.
He's kind of famous.
Okay.
So,
Anyway, talking to me, no movie about Sephardim. If we're not doing anything, maybe I can get some
we have a meeting Monday evening at my house to discuss what it is we will be doing. I'll have an answer for you after the Monday meeting.
So I just they're doing a spiel about on Frozen.
Oh, okay, cool,
Yeah,
yeah.
which I still haven't even seen.
Oh, that's not my thing. I'm sure my daughter Ellen has taken her kids to see it,
Oh,
but,
yeah. It was a blockbuster.
oh, sure, I know. I've heard lots of references to it, but it's not my thing.
Jean as well?
Yeah,
Great.
we're doing fine.
Great. Okay, so when Ed gets back, I suppose we'll start. There's a bit of an echo from this. I don't know if maybe the volume is too loud, but he'll know what to do.
You didn't publish this.
I didn't, not for this week. I did for last week, though.
I never saw it.
I watched the video last week. Somebody made mention on the video that I did not give it to them ahead of time. It was available on the side, right on the sign-up sheet. This last week's I didn't publish ahead of time. You're right. But what I did yesterday, was the day before, I was here photographing everything through the end of March, so that on Monday I'll begin to edit it, and like I do with this, and put it up on the internet, so it'll be available. And I also am extending the calendar through the end of April, so that everything is, there that we need.
Yeah, that's a little difficult.
Yeah, I saw, and I read. We'll work it out.
Yeah. I think the initial response is an overreaction, so.
We'll work it out.
Yeah. When they all jump on me, you gotta do this, you gotta prevent that, you gotta stop this.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
The sun rose the next morning. Life continued.
Exactly. But it's like vultures on fresh meat where, jump,
Yeah.
No, not gonna happen.
No.
So what do you think of my setup here?
So I think it's good. I mean, technically I'm above that. I don't know if it makes a difference. Sue, I shouldn't name people. I think there was one person in particular who would read Haftarah, but has felt that the mask makes it too difficult. So, hey, I'm comfortable with her standing behind this and me sitting even in the first row. I don't know what other people feel. And again, I defer to people who know better than I do. I'm not the expert in this field.
We could find a way to raise this up if that matters, but the only reason it's here is to give us the opportunity to have someone come up and chant that would otherwise not want to because they feel constrained by this. That's the only reason it's here. I'm not, someone said, I don't think it does any good. I said, I'm not here to care whether it does any good.
Yeah.
I'm not certainly going to run tests to determine if it does any. The point is not whether it does any good, it is a matter, does it make people...
You're offering an option for those who are comfortable with it.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Hi, Shabbat Shalom, good to see you.
These are hardy souls.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like a Rochester native. Nothing's going to stop me. I view my job as kind of like the U.S. Postal Service. I have to be here no matter what, so I'm
Well,
here.
there you go. For wind and rain and whatever.
Exactly.
How was your trip?
Great, thank you.
Oh, good.
Great.
Is your family from Cape Town?
Yeah,
area, or-
yeah.
That's just my...
Yeah.
It is great. So I tell you what, it's already 9:40. Let's begin.
Okay.
We're going to start on page 103, which is where we always start on Shabbat morning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech v'bina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני בצלמו. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני בין חורין. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני ישראל. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, פוקח עברים. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, מלביש ערומים. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, מתיר אסורים. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, זוקף כפופים. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, רוקע הארץ על המים. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המכין מצעדי גבר. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשה לי כל צורכי. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, עוזר ישראל בגבורה. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, עוטר ישראל בתפארה. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, הנותן ליהוה כוח. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, מעביר שינה מעיני ותנומן מעפעפי. ותננו היום ובכל יום לכן ולחסד ולרחמים בניך ובניך ראינו ותגמלנו חסדים טובים. ברוך אתה אדוני גומל חסדים טובים לעמו ישראל. And from that point we have made it our custom to go to page 112, which is the psalm for the daily psalm, which applies for Shabbat. היום יום שבת קודש, שבו היו הלוויים אומרים בבית המקדש מזמור שיר ליום השבת. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך העליון, להאמין בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. שתולים בבית אדוני וחצלות אלינו יפריחו עוד ינובון בשיבה דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולה תעבור. From there we usually go, we've made it our practice to go to page 122. If it's comfortable for you, we remain standing. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam, Baruch hu, Baruch oseh v'reshit, Baruch omer v'yoseh, Baruch ozer u'mekayem, Baruch merachem al ha'aretz, Baruch merachem al ha'briot, Baruch meshalem schato v'reach, Baruch ha'elad v'kayam la'netzach, Baruch b'deh matzil, Baruch shemo, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ha'el ha'av ha'rachaman u'malal b'fi amo. יחיד חי עולמים, מלך משבח ומפאר עד שמו הגדול, ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך מהולל, בתשבחות. Our next stop along the way of an abridged Pesukei de Zimra is on page 145. And at this point, we may be seated unless you'd particularly like to remain standing, which of course is up to you, but we may be seated. Nihishmat kol chai, tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. Iluvino Malesheven. ממצרים גאלתנו. משבחך ומברכך ומברך את שמי שם קודשך לדוד ברכינו שיית אדוני וכל קרבי את שם קודשו האל בתעצומות עוזך גדול בכבוד שמך הליבור לנצח ולא רע במורתך המלך יושב על כיסא רם ונישא. So I'm on page 147 at the first of the red arrows. Is there anyone who would like to lead us in Shacharit?
I'll do it.
If you'd like to, then by all means, please go ahead. So Ron is going to pick up at the first red arrow on page 147, which will be at Shochein Ad.
Shochein ad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatu rananu tzadikim Adonai el Yosherim nava tehila b'fi yesharim titalal u'v'divrei tzadikim titbarach u'v'ilshon chasidim titromam u'v'kerev kiddoshim titkadash Makalot, Rivavot, Amacha, Beit Yisrael, Brina Yitbarashim, Komakin, Bechor, Dor, Vador, Shekein, Chovat, Kol HaYitzurim, Lefonecha Adonai, Eloheinu, Velohei, Avotenu, Lehodot, Lehalel, Leshabeach, Lefoer, Leromim, Lehader, Levorech, Lealei, Ulekales, I'll call the Reshirah Betishbachot, Davi Ben Ishai, Abdecha Meshichecha, Ishtabach Shimacha, La'ad Malkeinu, Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol VaHaGadosh B'Shamayim U'Ba'aretz, Ki L'chonei Adonai Eloheinu V'Elohei Avotenu, Shiru Shvach Ha'alel V'Zimra Ozu Mem Shel HaNetzach Gedula Gevurah Tihila Tiferet, Kedushov Malchut, Baruchot V'Hodot, Me'atah V'Yad Olam, Baruch Atah Adonai, El Melech Gadol B'Tishbachot, El Ha'odot, Adon HaNiflaot, Habocher B'Shirei Zimra, Melech El Chai HaOlamim.
So we will jump now to the very top of page 150, as we do not have a minyan.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer ovrei choshech oseh shalom ovrei et hakol. Hakol yaducha v'hakol yishabachucha. Kadosh Adonai Anatzircha. Ein kerkecha v'ein zulotecha, efes biltecha midom melach. Ein kerkecha Adonai Eloheinu b'olam hazeh, v'ein zulotecha malkeinu l'chayei olam haba. Efes biltecha goleinu limot hamo
Moshiach, v'yein domeh lecha Moshiachenu, l'tchiyat hametim. On the top of page 151. El Adon al kol hamasim, Baruch u'mvorach b'fi kol neshama, Gadol v'tuvo malei olam, Da'at u'tfuna sovavim oto. Hamizka Hayot HaKodesh V'nedar b'chavod al har-merkava Zechut u'mishor lifnei chigso Chesed v'rachamim lifnei kevodo Tovavim niorot shebara Eloheinu Yitzoram b'da'at b'bina u'b'haskel Koach u'gvura natan bahem Liot moshlim b'kerev tevel Nileim zirum fikim noga Noezivon b'chol ha'olam Samechim b'tzeitom v'sosim b'voam Osim b'yem oritzon kona Po'er v'chavod notnim lishmo Talavarina l'zecher malchuto Kara l'shemesh v'yizrachor Ra v'hidkin surat halvana Shevach notnim lo kol tzeva maron Tiferet u'gedula Seraphim v'yafani v'chayot HaKodesh. Yes, what it goes. Seraphim v'yafani v'chayot HaKodesh. Titbarach Moshiachenu al shevach ma'aseh yedecha v'al me'orei or she'asito yeforachucha selah. Titbarach tzarenu malkeinu v'goleinu borei kedoshim yishtabach shimcha la'ad malkeinu yotzer meshatim v'aset sher meshatah kulam omdim berum olam u'mashmi'im b'yiraya yachad b'kol divrei Elohim chaim u'melech olam kulam ahuvim kulam berurim kulam giborim v'cholam osim b'yemo v'yirov ritzon kona v'chulam podkim et pihem v'kedusha v'tahara b'shira v'zimra u'mvorchim u'shabachim u'mforim u'maritzim u'makdishim u'mamlechim et shem ho'el hamelech hagadol hagedol HaKadoshu v'chulam ha'kablim aleihem ol malchus shemayim zeh mizeh v'notnim reshut zeh lo zeh lahakdish lirotzon b'nachat ruach v'safar ruach v'nimah kedosha kolom ki echad onim v'yomrim b'yira kadosh 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 Adonai tzevot melech haaretz kevodo V'hofanim b'chayot HaKodesh V'rash gadol min asim limat serafim V'yomasam m'shavachim b'yomrim Baruch kevod Adonai Me'im komo. Excuse me.
Like some more time?
No, I'm okay. El Baruch Hamchadesh b'tuvo b'chol yom tamim ma'aseh v'reishit ka'amor lioseh orim gedolim ki li'olam chasto or chodosh al tzion to'ir v'nizkech olam yero li'oro baruch atah Adonai yotzer hamiyorot Avarabav Avtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chem Lagedola V'Teira Chamalta Aleinu Avinu Malkeinu Ba'avor Avoteinu Shabbat kuvacha, vat lamdeinu chogei hayim, kain techaneinu, utalamdeinu. V'havienu l'shalom yarba kantot haaretz v'tolichenu k'mirot li'artzenu ki el poel yeshuot ata vono v'charta mikol am v'lashon v'kerabtonu l'simcha hagados ela be'emet l'odot l'kol yachtakor b'yahava baruch ata Adonai habocher b'yamo Yisrael b'yahava.
Amen.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu Advarim ha'ele asher hanochi mitzacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'lechtecha v'derech u'kashapecha u'v'kumecha u'kashatam leot al yodecha v'hayu l'totofot b'neinecha u'ksavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta alehem v'asu lahem tzitzit. Al kanfei v'dirhem ledoratam, v'natnu al tzitzit, hakanof b'dechil techelet, v'hayor lachem letzitzit. V'ritem oto, uzakartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, v'asitem otam, v'lo taturu, acharei levavchem, v'acharei einechem, asher atem zonim achareihem, leman tizkiru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'item kedoshim le'eloheihem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem ne'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Amen. Lidor vador hu kayam u'shmo kayam v'kiso nachon malchuto v'nemunato la'ad kayam. Emes shetohu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Malkeinu Melech Avotenu, Gorolenu Goal Avotenu, Yotzreinu Tzur Yeshuatenu, Podenu Matilenu Me'olam, Shemecha Ein Elohim Zulatecha, Ezrat Avotenu, Atohu Me'olam, Amagenu Moshe Ibnei, Dor Vador. Tehilot El Elyon Baruch Hu Baruch Moshe Miriam Ubnei Yisrael Chanu Shira B'Simcha Rabba V'Yamru Chulam Nichamocha Bo'elim Adonai Nichamocha Nedor B'Kodesh Nora Tehilot Osef Eleh Shiro Chadashah Shibachu Geulim V'Simcha Asafat Hayam Yachad Kulam Hodu V'Yimlechu V'Yamru Adonai Yimloch Li'olam Bo'ed Tzor Yisrael Kuma B'Ezrat Yisrael Ivdeichenu Mecha Yehuda V'Yisrael Go Aleinu Adonai Tzivot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Silent Amidah is on page 159.
Cindy, can you not hear me from so far?
No, I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. So I was saying that to our ever-growing agenda for Monday, we're not going to get to everything. We might have to follow up meeting. If you would remind me to add under the heading of Saturday morning.
What to do, when to call it with a minute.
Yes.
What time.
Because we make a game time decision every time, and it's.
Yes.
I think we need to know what.
Maybe what we should do is put it in the email flash. If we don't have a minute by X time,
Yeah, sure.
then we won't be reading from the scroll.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll be an impetus.
I also have some thoughts about
I think we should
how to
call
make
that
sure that we.
mince words. not
Yes.
mince words.
I also have thoughts which I'll share with you about what to do to make sure we do have a meeting on time.
Yes.
But aside from that,
I got an idea.
What?
Serve kiddush early.
Nice.
Serve kiddush before you read the Torah, then they get them here.
Tell them if you get here by X time, you can have l'chaim. Cindy, you can have Cindy's etrog liqueur.
but in the event that we don't have a meeting on time, I think we need to decide once and for all what is our procedure instead of trying to figure it out every time it happens.
Yes.
I think BHBI calls everybody or something like that.
They do.
So,
They get people to commit previous to the
well,
service.
that's the point.
Yes.
That's where I'm going with it. I think
Yes,
that's what
yes.
we need to do. We need to ask people maybe to make a commitment to being there at 9:30, whether it's once a month or so.
Right.
So that we can be assured, we can do our best to be assured of starting on time. Because whether we begin at 9:30, at 10, or at 6 in the morning, we never, there are always people who will come later. We're not Christian, where they begin on time.
Right.
Or reform.
And they don't need a meeting.
Apparently, I've been reading, apparently, not only is there Jewish time, but there's Indian time. Native American time.
Wow.
They're late too.
Well, it's, I have some thoughts about the idea of Jewish time, but we have friends from Brazil,
Uh-huh.
and they say that,
It doesn't happen.
time is a very vague concept.
Right. I think that's the way it is with the indigenous peoples too, from what I'm reading.
That was before we had watches and clocks.
Yes. I'm reading these books and it says he looked at the sun and he said it's X time and then he checked his watch and he said, oh, that's pretty good.
Yes, if you don't wear a watch, you get good at estimating what actual time it is. But by
Yes.
just using a calculator,
Yes,
you
yes,
forget
yes.
how to do simple math.
Yeah. Which I would imagine is a whole lot easier if you're living on the equator.
By the way, we are doing, this is Shabbat Shuvah, right?
Shira.
Oh, is that
Sure.
Shuvah?
Shuvah's,
Oh.
Shuvah's too close to Passover.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
In a minute, we will have 10.
Outstanding.
We can, we'll
I know,
actually have 11.
I've helped run it over. Joanne, I was describing to Phil how I saw you basically in a burqa with only your eyes exposed.
I know, I was very interested.
You know, it's so interesting because usually if a person wears sunglasses, I don't recognize it. If they're wearing a hat, I don't recognize it. The mask has been a real challenge for me over the past few years. But I recognize your eyes. So the combination of the hat and the mask, it's game over for me. You got my email about our Wednesday?
Yes, I sent that this time.
Super, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make it, official instead of feeling that I'm running late, because I hate being late and keeping people later than I promised them. It's not fair, it's not right.
winter is hard to photograph because it's kind of monochromatic. I guess we could do some winter, you know, to see if people are doing shots. We can see what the response is. But then my thought is that the next thing before spring is maybe we can do pets or something like that. or I don't know, travel or something like that. Your favorite travel shot.
Winter is beautiful though, especially when it's a blue sky and
Absolutely.
winter's more challenging. We have nothing.
Oh, but we just turned into photograph, right?
Yeah,
Because it
they-
kind of begins to look.
we had it for a while.
And then sometimes you have beautiful blue skies, but it's really cold out.
Yeah, you know, that's been, I'm used to it now, but the biggest difficulty in adjusting to living in Rochester, where the weather, the temperature, the climate, the snowfall, not all that different to Boston now, where I lived for 18 years. But the skies are not gray.
Yes.
There are many more blue sky days in Boston. And in my experience, bigger snowfalls in Boston than here. Bigger storms. Bigger, you know, they get nor'easters, which...
We can start that one.
Super. Okay. So, repetition of Amida.
You want to do a repetition?
We can also not, given the time, and we can go straight into Torah service.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do it, or do you want to continue, or I don't want to tread on your toes. You've been doing a great job so far. I don't know if you've had enough, or you're ready to. Whichever way you want to go, I'm happy to go with it.
Why don't you take?
Okay.
Okay, because she realized that so we're not doing it either?
In consideration of the time this morning, we're going to go into the Torah service now.
And Andrew is supposed to do the song of the sea.
Yes.
He's supposed to.
If he doesn't make it, I have done it before, but I haven't practiced it.
And I've done it before too, and I haven't practiced it, so between you and me, we will figure out.
I'm sure he'll make
He
it.
still has 5 minutes.
Yeah, look, I'm sure. Well, he has more than 5 minutes because his is the 7th Aliyah. So my only hope is that all is well on his side,
Yeah.
and that he's not here for a reason that is benevolent and healthy and.
He usually comes later and he seems to time it like just in the nick of time.
Yeah.
My only concern is that it all should be good with him, and we will figure out how to move forward. Okay, so let us turn to page 168. Shabbat Shalom. Good morning to everyone. It's great to see you. I tell you what, in consideration of the time that we're not repeating the Amidah, community to me is very important. Let's just have a quick check-in. Any good news before we get going? Any good news that anybody wishes to share with us? Birthdays, anniversaries, you name it. No? Okay, well, my nephew had his bar mitzvah last Shabbat, and I had the good fortune to be there with my family, and it was just great.
Summer in South Africa.
Yeah, it didn't hurt that it's summer in South Africa. Didn't hurt at all. But it was lovely to be with my family. Wonderful to see my nephew reach this moment in his life. I think all of us were expecting him to back out at the last second, and he didn't. He came through like a champ, and we were all delighted. Thank you. My family got by without me over here. The dogs were happy to see me, and when I got back, and all
I
good.
noticed you mentioned the dogs were happy to see you.
Exactly. That wasn't an oversight. Yeah. Exactly. Anyone else have anything to share? No. Yeah?
In the upcoming week will be Ellen's birthday.
Ah, happy birthday, Ellen.
Yes.
We send our best wishes to our dear friend and soloist, our cantor, Ellen. Okay, page 168. אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך, מלכותך, מלכות כל עולמי, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אב הרחמים, היטיבה ברצונך את ציון. תבנה חומות ירושלים, תבנה חומות ירושלים, כי בך לבד בטחנו, מלך אין רם ונישא, אדון עולמי. ויהי בנשוא אהרון, ויאמר משה, קומה אדוני, ויפוצו אויביך, וינוסו משנאיך מפניך. כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים. ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, לעמו ישראל מקדושתו. Let's read on page 169, the top paragraph, on the left-hand side, a prayer for the day of rest. I long to change the world, but I rarely appreciate things as they are. I know how to give, but I don't always know how to be still. I talk, but I don't often listen. I look, but I don't often see. I yearn to succeed, but I often forget what is truly important. Teach me, God, to slow down. May my resting revive me. May it lead me to wisdom, to holiness, to peace, and to you. Beyana rachet velishmei kadisha, kadisha yakira, ana emar tu ushtekhan, yei rava tohodama, desiftach libi ve'oraita, ותשלים משלים דליבי, וליבה דכל עמך ישראל, ותאהבו לחיים ולשלם. אמן. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai
echad Eloheinu, gadol Adonenu, kadosh shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, gadol Adonenu, kadosh shemo.
Gadol Adonai iti, u'leromema shemo yachdav. Lecha Adonai hagadula ve'hagavura ve'atiferet ve'haneza ve'hahod Yihol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz Yihol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz Lecha Adonai yamama ve'mitaseh le'kol le'rod Romevu, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'yishtachavu, le'adom raglav hadoshu. Romevu, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'yishtachavu, le'akodsho ikadosh. Adonai Eloheinu.
So it should be
It is,
in the
it's
right
right
place.
there.
Great, I put it there yesterday.
Good for you.
Or the day before.
Okay, we may be seated. I feel like I'm working at the bank with this. Okay, so our first aliyah, I hope this morning's handout is accurate. I do my best, but I mess up frequently. The first aliyah is on page 399, and it begins at verse number 17. This is Parashat Beshalach. More than just being Parashat Beshalach, it is the Shabbat is known as Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of song. And the reason for that is because we read the triumphant song that was sung after the people escape the Egyptians and make it through the sea of reeds. We understand that a miracle took place that made it possible for the people to emerge through the sea, and immediately after them, they were followed by the Egyptian troops who were ordered by Pharaoh after he reneged once again and tried to bring the Hebrews back. And yet, while the Hebrews made it through the Sea of Reeds, Pharaoh's forces were swallowed up and drowned. And so it's an interesting moment that on the one hand it's triumphant, we sing a song of celebration, and yet we're also taught at the Pesach Seder and elsewhere that we need to temper our celebration, that even though our enemies were not victorious, they too were God's children. And we need to be somewhat cautious about celebrating when any of God's children lose their lives and endure suffering. So, Shabbat Shirah, we hope that all is well with Andrew and that he gets here in time to lead us in that section of the Torah reading. If he's not, plan B. So, once again, page 399. Our Kohen is Phil, right? Okay. Vayazor, vayagen v'yashir l'chol ha'chosim bo v'nomar. Amen. Hakol avu godel Eloheinu nu chavod laTorah. Kohen krav ya'amod Kohen. Baruch Shenatan Torah Lamo Yisrael Bikdushato. ואתם הדבקים אדוני אלוהיכם, חיים כולכם מהיום. ברוך אדוני מברך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני מברך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים. ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו התורה.
אמן.
Vayhi b'shalach paro et ha'am v'lo nacham Elohim derech eretz Pelishtim ki karov hu ki amar Elohim pen yinachem ha'am biratam milchama v'shavu mitzrayma Vayasev Elohim et ha'am derech hamidbar yamsuf v'chamushim alu v'nei Israel me'eretz Mitzrayim vayikach Moshe et atzmo Yosef imo Ki hashpia epnei Yisrael lemor pakod yivkod Elohim echem v'ha'alitem et atzmotai mizeh itechem vayisu misukot vaychanu v'etam biktzei hamidbar v'Adonai holech Lifnehem Yomam Ba'amud Anan Lanchotam Haderech V'layla Ba'amud Eish L'ha'ir Lahem Lalechet Yomam V'layla Lo Yamish Amud Ha'anan Yomam Ba'amud Ha'eish Layla Lifnei Ha'am
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam atah b'tocheinu Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Torah.
Amen. Good, thank you. The second aliyah is on page 401, and it begins at chapter 14, verse number 1. Ta'amod bat Levi.
Baruch et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai varach l'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach l'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayidaber Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'yashuvu v'yachanu lifnei pi hachirot ben migdol vein hayam lifnei ba'al tzefon nichachot tachanu al hayam ve'amar paro livnei Yisrael nevuchim hem ba'aretz sagar alehem hamibar v'chizakti at lev paro v'radaf acharehem v'ikavada b'faro uv'chal chelo v'yadu mitzrayim ki ani Adonai v'yasuchem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. The third aliyah it continues on the same page on 401, and it begins at verse number 5. The Ya'amod Shlishi.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'kavanu mikol hamim v'natanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai
Shema.
noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayugad lemelech Mitzrayim ki varach ha'am vayehafech levav paro va'avadav el ha'am vayomaru mazot asinu ki shilachnu et Yisrael me'avdenu vayasor et richbo ve'et amo lakach imo vayikach shesh meyot rechev bachur v'chol rechev Mitzrayim v'shalishim al kulo vayachazek Adonai et lev paro melech Mitzrayim vayirdof acharei b'nei Yisrael u'v'nei Yisrael yotzeim
B'yad ramah.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan Torah chemes v'hayenu al nata b'sochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai
Shema.
noten haTorah.
Amen. The fourth aliyah is on page 402, and it begins at verse number 9. Ta'amod revi'it.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayirdefu Mitzrayim achareihem vayasigu otam chonim al hayam kol sus rechav paro ufarashav v'chelo al pi hakirot lifnei ba'al tzefon ufaro hikriv vayisu b'nei Yisrael et eineihem V'hinei Mitzrayim nosea achareihem vayireu me'od vayitzaku v'nei Yisrael el Adonai vayomeru el Moshe hamibli en kvarim b'Mitzrayim lekachtanu lamut b'midbar mazot asita lanu l'hotzianu mimitzrayim halozeh hadavar asher dibarnu elecha v'Mitzrayim lemor chadal mimenu v'na'avda et Mitzrayim ki tov lanu avod et Mitzrayim mimotenu b'midbar Vayomer Moshe el ha'am al tira'u hityatzavu ura'u et Yeshua Adonai asher ya'aseh lachem hayom ki asher ra'item et Mitzrayim hayom lo tosifu liratam od ad olam Adonai yilachem lachem v'atem tacharishon.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. The fifth aliyah is on page 403, and it begins at verse number 15. Ya'amod Chamishi. Baruch Adonai Varach L'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai
Shema.
noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, Matizkach Elai, Daber et Bnei Yisrael, Vayisau, Ve'ata Hareim et Matka, Unete et Yedecha al Hayam, Ukaehu, Vayavohu Bnei Yisrael b'toch hayam v'yabashaha ve'ani hineni mechazek et lev Mitzrayim v'yavohu achreihem ve'ikavdaha b'faro b'chochelo berikbo Farashaha Vayadu Mitzrayim Ki Ani Adonai Vehikavdi Befaro Barikbo Farashaha Vayisa Milach HaElohim HaHolech Lifnei Mechanei Yisrael Vayelech Me'achreihem Vayisa Avod He'anan Mipinehem Vayamod Me'achareihem Vayavohu Behim Mechanei Mitzrayim Uvein Mechanei Yisrael Ve'yehi ha'anan ve'hachoshech ve'ya'er et ha'layla ve'lo karov zeh ve'el zeh
Kol ha'layla.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten
Shema.
ha'torah.
Amen.
Oh, okay. This is the first word, velo karav.
So we are coming up on the sixth aliyah, which will see the beginning. We're going to be working our way closer to Shirat Hayam. The sixth aliyah begins on page 404 at verse number 21. Who is receiving the sixth aliyah?
You are.
Oh, that's me. That's true. True. Good point.
I think I should move it a little.
Keeping me on my toes. I like it. Thank you.
You call yourself up here.
Ah, you call me Shishi.
Oh.
Yamo Shishi. Happy to oblige. Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach. Baruch Adonai Baruch L'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Vayet Moshe et yado al hayam. Vayolech Adonai et hayam. Baruch kadim azah kol halayla. Vayasem et hayam lecharavam. ויבגו המים. ויבואו בני ישראל בתוך הים ביבשה, והמים להם חומה מימינם ומשמאלם. וירדפו מצרים ויבואו אחריהם כל סוס פרעה רכבו ופרשיו אל תוך הים. ויהי באשמורת הבוקר וישקף אדוני על מחנה מצרים בעמוד אש ונח וים את מחנה מצרים. ויסר את אופן מרכבותיו וינתקהו בכבדות. ויאמר מצרים אנוסה מפני ישראל, כי אדוני נלחם להם במצרים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. So, Cindy, if you would cover, thank you, the scroll at this point. Before we read the seventh Aliyah, we offer blessings of healing for everyone in our personal lives, in our community, in the world beyond, whether it be for healing of the body, and for those who possibly healing of the body is not what we reasonably expect at this point. We nonetheless always wish for everyone peace. And so we also pray for healing of the spirit for all those who need it. משברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, ואמותינו שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה. הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. ברוך בן רבקה גיטל, מרים בת יהודית, יעל בת דבורה, עליזה בת חיה ומרדכי, מייקל סטולה, לוי יצחק בן רבקה, חנה לאה בת שירה סיוון, מייקל קריס, ריצ'י גריקו, Larry Newman, Tzvi Hirsch ben Frida, Howard Brill, Leba bat Rochel, Lily Sherman, Melech ben Menucha, Gershon Abram ben Tzipadina, Leslie Ambush, Pinchas ben Chava vechaim, Peter Abrams, Yaron ben Shoshana, Katarina Cook, Karen Robinson, Fischel Label ben Leah, Phil Rogerson, Sandra Ambush, Scott Davis, Yitzchak Yosef ben Sarah, Nick Aruda, Harriet Riss, William Stewart, Adam ben Fratel, Elishira bat Sarah, Hadassah bat Sarah, Moshe Arielev, Binyamin ben Ruth, Sifra Kala bat Zipporah, Beverly Malowitz, Judy bat Josephine, Abraham ben Tehila, Rebbe Simchaya Necha bat Riva Leah, Mark Donahue, Yisrael ben Batya, Yaakova Basha bat Leah Devora, Joe McManus, Jed Salisbury, Stephanie Letvak, Sarah Shandel bat Freda Leah, Miriam bat Shoshana Leah, Laurie Davis, Sarah bat Ben Zion Shoshana, Chaya Malka bat Chaviva, Peretz ben Esther, Dan Nussbaum. Is there anyone else whose names anyone would like to add?
Marcia Rosenfeld.
Richard Baker.
Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yimale Rachamim Alehem Leachazikam Ulerapotam וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, בתוך שאר החולים, וחזק את ידי העוסקים בצורכיהם. שבת היא מלזעוק רפואה קרובה לבוא, השתה בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. The seventh aliyah is where the action happens. It begins on page 405, and that will be at verse number 26. And it is typically recited in a call and response type of fashion. There are two different ways of doing it. The mode that I seem to remember that Andrew has led us in years gone by is what I have quoted in the weekly flyer, if you have it, where it notes which verses require this call and response. The reader chants a phrase, then the congregation chants the following phrase, which in most cases completes the verse, and the reader then repeats the phrase that the congregation chanted. And that is the...
We could do that.
Did I get it wrong? What was
No. We can. It's a question of how well you know the response, because if there's a call and there's a response. So the call is like la 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 la, and then the response is la 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 la. So I'm happy to do each one, and then you just echo me. I could do the call and you repeat it, and then I could do the response and you repeat it. That's an option, or we could have you just do the response and I'll repeat the response. Any thoughts? Last year I did it where I gave you everything.
The more you do, the more I like.
Okay.
All right. And while we're on that point, I learned something yesterday I didn't know about this, which is that it's not every line of Shirat Hayom, and the code is. It turns out that there's a line in there about making God beautiful or beautifying God's presence. And so every one of the phrases that has a God-like word in it, El or Adonai and that sort of thing, those are the verses that get this beautification. And the other ones don't, until the rule changes near the end. So anyway.
Okay. So once again, page 405, beginning at verse number 26. Who is the seventh aliyah? Ya'amod Shvi'i. Baruch Adonai v'rach l'olam va'ed. Shema. Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe neteh et yadcha al hayam. Vayeshuvu hamayim al Mitzrayim al Richbo ve'al Parshav. Vayet Moshe et yado al hayam. Vayashav hayam lifnot boker etano Mitzrayim nasim likrato Vayina'er Adonai et Mitzrayim b'tol hayam Vayashuvu hamayim Vayechasu et harechev et haparashim L'chochel paro habayim achareihem bayam Lo nishar bahem ad echad Uvenei Yisrael halchu Vayabasha b'tol chayam V'hamayim lahem chomam Miminam umi somolam Mimi
ומשמאלם.
ויושע אדוני ביום ההוא את ישראל מיד מצרים, וירא ישראל את מצרים מת על שפת הים, וירא ישראל את היד הגדולה אשר עשה אדוני במצרים, ויראו העם את אדוני, ויאמינו באדוני ובמשה עבדו.
ויאמינו באדוני ובמשה עבדו.
אז ישיר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני, ויאמרו לאמור, אשיר על אדוני כי גאו גאה.
אשיר אל אדוני כי גאו גאה.
סוס ורוכבו רמה וים.
סוס ורוכבו וימה רמה וים.
זיו זמרת יה ויהי לי לישועה.
זיו זמרת יה ויהי לי לישועה. זה אלי וענווהו. אלוהי אביו ארום ממנו. אדוני איש מלחמה. אדוני שמו.
tubu biyam suf tehomot v'yachsu yechasyu yardu v'mitzolot kamo aven yemincha Adonai nedari b'koach
yemincha Adonai nedari b'koach ימינך אדוני תרעץ אויב.
וברוב גאונך תהרוץ קמך, תשלח ארונך יאכלמו כקש, וברוח אפיך נאמו מים ניצבו כמו נוזלים. קפאו תהומות בלב ים, אמר אויב ארדוף אשיג אחלק שלום, תמלאמו נפשי אריק חרבי תורשמו ידי. נשפת ורוחך כי שמו ים, צללו כעופרת במים אדירים. מי כמוך באלים אדוני,
מי כמוך באלים אדוני,
מי כמוך נדר בקודש,
מי כמוך נדר בקודש.
נורא תהילות עושה פלא,
נורא תהילות עושה פלא.
נטית ימינך תבלעמו הארץ, נחית וחסדך עמזו גאלת, נהלת ועזך אל נווה קודשך, שמעו עמים ירגזון, חיל אחז יושבי פלשת, אז נבהלו אלופי אדום, אלי מואב יאחזמו רעד, נמוגו כל יושבי כנען, תיפול עליהם אימתה ופחד, בגדול זרועך ידמו כאבן, עד יעבור עמך אדוני.
עד יעבור עמך אדוני.
עד יעבור עמזו קניתה.
עד יעבור עמזו קניתה.
תביאמו ותטעמו בהר נחלתך, מכון לשבתך פעלת אדוני, מקדש אדוני כוננו ידיך. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
סוס פרעה ברכבו ופרשיו בים, וישב אדוני עליהם את מי הים, ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים. ותיקח מרים הנביאה אחות אהרון ותעטוף בידה, ותצאנה כל הנשים אחריה בתופים ובמחולות. ותען להם מרים, שירו לאדוני כי גאו גאה.
שירו לאדוני כי גאו גאה.
סוס ורוכבו רמה וים.
סוס ורוכבו רמה וים.
ויישא משה את ישראל מים סוף, ויצאו אל מדבר שור, וילכו 3 ימים במדבר ולא מצאו מים, ויבואו מרתה ולא יכלו לשתות מים ממרה, כי מרים הם, על כן קרא שמה מרה. וילונו העם על משה לאמור מה נשתה. ויצעק אדוני, ויראו אדוני עץ, וישלך אל המים, וימתקו המים, שם לו חוק ומשפט, ושם ניסהו, ויאמר אם שמוע תשמע לקול אדוני אלוהיך, והישר בעיניו תעשה, והאזנת למצוותיו, ושמרת כל חוקיו, כל המחלה אשר שמתי במצרים לא אשים עליך, כי אני
אדוני רופאך.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נשא לנו תורה ונס בחיי עולם נתת ושלחנו בזכותך אדוני
שמו. Amen. If we would please cover the Torah, Yashar Koach to both to Andrew and to Ed.
It's just a repeat. It's a repeat right after the.
Oh, I didn't indicate where the laughter starts. I'm sorry. On
It's verse page 412, verse 22, right out there.
I didn't indicate.
Oh, on there.
Image, yeah.
I didn't get it.
Okay. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ביום דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה, ובזמן קרי וימרו. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן ביולמה ויאמרו Amen. The maftir is on page 412 and it begins at verse number 22. Cindy, you got it there on the scroll?
Yeah, she's got it.
Super. Okay. Yeah,
Come here if you want, whatever you want.
Ya'amod maftir. Baruch Adonai Baruch L'olam Va'ed. Amen.
Amen. Vayasa Moshe et Yisrael miyam suf. Vayetzu el midbar shur. Vayachu shloshet yamim bamidbar v'lo matzu mayim. V'yavo marata v'lo yachlu. Lishtod mayim mimara ki marim hem. Al ken karashema mara. Vayilonu am al Moshe lemor manishtem. Vayitzak el Adonai. Vayerehu Adonai etz v'yashlech el hamayim. Vayimteku hamayim. Sham sam lo chok umishpat v'sham nisahu. Vayomer im shamoati shemaha lekol Adonai Elohecha v'hayashar v'einav taseh v'azanta lemitzvotav v'shamarta kol chukav kol hamachalam asher shamti b'mitzrayim Lo asim alecha ki ani Adonai
rofecha. Shemo. Amen. Before we call up the Magbia and Golelet, let us extend blessing to everyone who has participated in this morning's Torah service. Whether you read from the Torah, whether you received an aliyah, we extend blessing to all of you. If it's comfortable for you to do so, please rise. And we say, Misha Berach, Avotenu Abraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, v'imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah. הוא יברך את כל אלה שעלו היום לכבוד המקום ולכבוד התורה ולכבוד השבת. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור אותם ואת כל משפחותיהם וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם עם כל ישראל אחיהם ואחיותיהם ונאמר אמן. יעמוד המגביה, תעמוד Hagolelet. Let's stand up as Scott is about to lift up the Torah scroll. Vezot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Livnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai Beyad Moshe. Torah, 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 Tzivanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah,
Morasha Kehilat Yaakov, Morasha Kehilat Yaakov, Morasha Kehilat Yaakov, Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe. The Haftarah this morning will be read by Ron. It comes to us thanks to the book of Judges. There are two permutations of the Haftarah, one in the Sephardi tradition, one in the Ashkenazi tradition. And this morning, we will be visiting the Sephardi world. So we turn to page 426, and Ron will read chapter 5, verses 1 through 31.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar b'dim tovim, v'ratzah v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nbiei ha'emet v'tzedek. V'tasha divorav u'Barak ben Avinoam bayom hahu le'mor b'fra paraot b'Yisrael behit nadev am barachu Adonai shimu melachim ha'azinu roznim Anochi l'Adonai Anochi Ashira Azamer l'Adonai Elohei Yisrael Adonai b'tzeitcha niseir b'tzadcha misdei Edom Eretz Ra'asa Gam Shamayim Natafu Gam Avim Natafu Mayim Harim Gazlu Mitnei Adonai Zeh Sisnai Nitnei Adonai Elohei Yisrael Bimei Shamgar ben Anat bimei Yael Kadlu Arachot V'holchei Nitivot Yelchu Arachot Akalkalot Chadlu Pirazon b'Yisrael Chadelu Ad Shakamti Devara Shakamti Ein b'Yisrael Yichar Elohim Chadashim Az Lahem Sha'arim Magen Yera'eh V'Romach B'Arba'im Elef b'Yisrael Libi Lechokakei Yisrael Amit Nadavim Ba'am Barachu Adonai Rofei Atonot Zecharot Yoshvei Al Midin V'Cholchei Al Derech Sichu Mikol Machatzitzim משאבים, שם יתנו צדקות אדוני, צדקות פרזונו בישראל. אז ירדו לשערים עם אדוני. אורי, אורי דבורה, אורי, אורי דברי שיר, קום ברק ושווה שביך בין אבינועם. אז ירד שריד לאדירים, אדוני ירד לי בגיבורים. מיני אפרים שר שם בעמלק, אחריך בנימין בעממך. מיני מחיר ירדו מחוקקים, ומזבולון מושכין בשבט סופר. בשרי ביששכר עם דבורה, ביששכר כן ברק, בעמק שולח ברגליו. דפלגות ראובן גדולים חיככי לב, למה ישבת בין המשפטיים לשמוע? שריקות עדרים לפלגות ראובן גדולים חקרי לב. גלעד בעבר הירדן שכן, ודן למה יגור עניות. אשר ישב לחוק ימים, ועל מפרציו ישכון. זבולון עם חרב נפשו למות, בנפתלי על מרומי שדה. באו מלאכים נלחמו, אז נלחמו מלכי כנען בתענך על מי מגידו. בצע כסף לא לקחו, מן שמיים נלחמו הכוכבים ממסילותם, נלחמו עם סיסרא. נחל קישון גרפם, נחל קדומים נחל קישון. תדרכי נפשי עוז, אז חלמו עקבי סוס. מדהרות דהרות אביריו, אורו מרוז. אמר מלאך אדוני, אורו ארור יושביה, כי לא באו לעזרת אדוני בגיבורים. תבורך מנשים יעל, אשת חבר הקני, מנשים באוהל תבורך. מים שאל חלב נתנה, בספל אדירים הקריבה חמאה. ידה ליתה תשלחנה, וימינה והלמוד עמלים. בהלמה סיסרא מחכה ראשו, ומחצה בחלפה רקתו. בין רגליך קרא נפל שכב, בין רגליך קרא נפל Ba'asher kara sham nafal shadud ba'ad hachelon nishkafa vadyabev ein sisara ba'ad ha'eshnav madua b'sheish richbo lavo madua echeru pa'amei markavotav chachmot shiroteha ta'anena afhi tashiv amareha la Halo yimtsa'u yichalku shalal rachamatayim l'rosh gever shalal tziva'im l'se'isara shalal tziva'im rikma Sevach rikmatayim l'tzavrei shalal Kain yovedu choyevecha Adonai v'ohavav Ketzei tashemesh b'gvurato Vatishkot haaretz arba'im shana Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzorko ha'olamim tzadik v'chol hadorot ho'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer yoseh ha'medaber u'mekayim shekol devarav emet v'tzedek ne'eman atohu Adonai Eloheinu v'ne'emanim devorecha v'davarecha midvorecha achor lo yeshuv reikam ki el melech ne'eman v'yachaman ata Baruch ata Adonai ha'el ha'ne'eman b'chol devarav Rachem al Tzion ki hi beit chayenu v'la'olu bat nefesh toshia b'meirav yameinu Baruch ata Adonai v'samech Tzion b'vaneha Amen Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu b'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha u'malchut beit David Mashichecha b'mheira yavo v'yogel libeinu al kiso lo yeshev zar v'lo yinchalo od acherim et kavodo ki v'shem kachecha nishbata lo shelo yikbe neiro li'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai
Baruch Shemo
Mogen David
Amen
Al HaTorah v'al HaVoda v'al HaNavim v'al Yom HaShabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnecha lechavod u'letifaret Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mvorchim otach yitbarach shimcha b'fi chochai tamid li'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai
Baruch Shemo
Mikadesh HaShabbat
Amen Yashar Koach
Baruch Tiyah and Baruch Tiyah to everyone participating this morning. Thank you.
Do we have English readings?
Yes, we do.
Great. Now's the time for them.
So we have two English readings.
Oh, great.
So I chose on page 177 a prayer for the renewal of creation. I thought it sounded nice to have that with Tu B'Shvat coming and the new year of the trees and the nice symbol that trees have of creation and the cycle of life. So this is at the top of page 177. Master of the universe, in whose hand is the breath of all life and the soul of every person, grant us the gift of Shabbat, a day of rest from all our labors. With all of our senses senses, may we perceive the glory of your works. Fill us with your goodness, that we may attest to your great deeds. Strengthen us to become your faithful partners, preserving the world for the sake of future generations. Adonai, our God and our God of our ancestors, may it be your will to renew your blessing of the world in our day, as you have done from the beginning of time.
Yashar Koach.
And as Rabbi said, I think we need all the prayers for peace we can get. So on page 178, I hope you will join me responsively in a prayer for peace. May we see the day when war and bloodshed cease, when a great peace will embrace the whole world.
Then nation will not threaten nation, and the human family will not again know war.
For all who live on earth shall realize we have not come into being to hate or to destroy. We have come into being to praise, to labor, and to love.
Compassion, God, bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion.
Fulfill the promise conveyed in Scripture. I will bring peace to the land, and you shall lie down, and no one shall terrify you.
I will rid the land of vicious beasts, and it shall not be ravaged by war.
Let justice and righteousness flow like a mighty stream. Let God's peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
You want to get the big book? Let's get the big book. Ashrei on page 181. No, I didn't.
That was my
I got
parents'
a peek.
That was my parents' address. That's why I never forgot it. 181. Okay.
All right. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Oda Luka Sela. Tehillah LeDavid, Aromimcha Elohai HaMelech, Baruch Shemcha Le'olam Va'ed. Gadol Adonai Hamelach Me'od, V'likadulato En Cheker. Hadar Kavod Hodecha, V'divrei Neflotecha Asicha. Zecher Rav Tuvcha Yabi'u, V'tzivrecha Yiranenu. Tov Adonai L'chol, V'rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav. Kivod Malachutcha Yameru, V'v'ratacha Yedaberu. Malchutka Malchut Kol Amim, U'memshaltecha B'chol Dor V'dor. Einecho Elecha Yisaberu, V'ata Noten Lahem Et Achlam Be'ito. Tzadik Adonai B'chol Berachav, V'chazid B'chol Ma'asav. Ritzon Re'ah Yaseh, Ve'et Shavatam Yeshema Yoshiem. Tehillah Adonai Yedaber Pi, V'varech Kol Basar Shem Katzro Le'olam Va'ed, V'yanachnu Nevarach Me'ata Le'olam. Hallelujah.
Yashar Koach. We turn to page 183. We're going to return the Torah to the ark now, so please rise if you're able to do so. Yahalelu et Shem Adonai, Yinizkav Shemo Levado, Hodo B'Leres, V'Shamayim, V'Yarei Eren V'Yamo, Teila V'Ho, Hasidita, Livnei Yisrael Kerovo. Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Mizmor LeDavid, Havod Adonai B'nei ben re'im, kol Adonai, kol zevdahotesh, kol Adonai, yakil milav, yakil Adonai, kol Adonai, יכונן רעיינות, ויחשוף יערות, ובהיכלו כולו אומר כבוד, אדוני למעול ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני יוס לימו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, וברוכו יאמר. כי לקחתו נתתי לכם תורתי, אל תעזובו את חיימי, למה חזיתם בה ותומכיה מאושר
So Ellen Gertzog once gave me some advice. She said, don't hand out a source sheet with more than one page of information. And I've not listened to her this morning. So I hope that we move through it speedily and it doesn't feel as threatening as maybe it looks, that this page with all the material might have you here by dinner time. So, this week's Torah reading, both the Torah reading, the Haftarah, the richness of the text, evokes so many issues, among which are the survival in a time of crisis, survival personally in a time of crisis, survival nationally in a time of crisis, the worst type of national crisis I would imagine, is war. And we encounter both in the text this morning. Certainly, the Torah reading starts off with a miracle, the escape from Egypt. But then as soon as that is done, it's a matter of be careful what you wish for because you might get it. And then the people discover themselves in the desert. And what now? Totally foreign place. How do we cope? How do we get to where we're going? Who's going to look after us? Who's going to provide for us? Not a question of how do we provide for ourselves, but possibly the continuation of a mindset of a slave nation coming directly. Who's going to be providing for us? No sense of empowerment in terms of what do we do for ourselves. And I don't say it critically, but with sympathy to the understanding of just how totally overwhelming and frightening the situation must have seemed. And so what the Torah tells us is that God tries to address these anxieties, the real stress that might come along with blessing. Ironically, that God offers symbols of God's presence as reassurance to the people that God is with them. God is going to be there for them at all times, addressing the different circumstances that the people might find themselves in, and paying just exquisite attention to detail, saying, no matter, I will be there. If it's dark, I will be there. If it's light, I will be there. And how much is that not what we seek when we find ourselves in a time of crisis, knowing that, or wishing that there was a sign of presence, of accompaniment, that we're not going through this alone. And so the verse, Exodus 13:21, strikes me. God went before them in a pillar of cloud by day to guide them along the way. So it would appear that there's a daytime pillar of cloud. The purpose of this pillar would appear to be, this is the GPS system. Follow these directions and you'll get to where you're going. And in a pillar of fire by night, to give them light, that they may travel day and night. Chizkuni, as well as a number of other commentators, look at this issue of marching both day and night. You know, what does this tell us? Well, it tells us that they're on the run. They're on the go. There's a sense of desperation here, needing to get just out of Egypt as far and as fast as possible to escape that scene. And so therefore, you know, if they were just taking a Sunday stroll, well, they would sit down, have a cup of tea, rest for the night. Not what's happening here. They're fleeing. There's a sense of haste, and this is indicated by the fact that they need to be marching for their lives, both day and night. The Or HaChaim looks at the same verse and goes in another direction. It's less about this very, he expands. It says, the Torah chooses the word lanchotam, which we see in the verse above, to indicate that God made the journey comfortable for them. And when I read this, it really, really struck me that here you've got a people in crisis. It's an emergency situation. It's a good emergency to have that you've managed to escape. But they're needing to get as far and far away from Egypt. And yet, there's a sense of comfort that is being incorporated here, that appears to God that it's important to include in the people's experience, that God needs to make them feel comfortable. Now, what's this all about? Comfort? Who's got time for comfort when you're running for your life? Well, Or HaChaim continues, when it was hot, God made the cloud spread over them to protect them from the sun. The cloud performed this function only by day. The cloud described here, which is the cloud, a pillar of cloud to guide them, has nothing to do with the column of cloud, the cloud which covered them and gave shade, has nothing to do with the cloud which preceded them, which was the GPS cloud. So we've got the air conditioning cloud and we've got the GPS cloud, to put it into automotive terms, which preceded the Israelites, which smoothed rough passages and showed the way to go. Now, where do you possibly make this up from? How do you get to that? The text in Exodus simply says, a pillar of cloud by day to guide them, and a pillar of fire by night. Well, he says, look ahead. And now here we have what's called an intratextual reference, where we're looking at one piece of the text of Torah, and then he says, look ahead. Go all the way to Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verses 32 to 33, and you'll see that there's text there that refers to this text, but it adds something. So the text in Deuteronomy says, your God, who goes before you on your journeys to scout the place where you are to camp, in fire by night and in cloud by day, in order to guide you on the route you are to follow. And the Or HaChaim says that in Deuteronomy, the Torah is specifically stating that there was, number one, a cloud in front of them, which was to seek out a place where to pitch your tents. So this is the GPS cloud. The column of fire by night was to show you where to walk. So now we've got headlights slash GPS. And number three, there is a cloud by day. So it's pointing out that in addition to the fire at night, there are two clouds in the daytime. This is his reading of Deuteronomy. And the Or HaChaim says, the Torah therefore speaks of three separate phenomena. A cloud that was with them all the time, the column of fire that enabled them to see at night, and a cloud by day. And the latter was the cloud which we described as providing shade against the heat of the sun. This is the cloud that seeks to offer coolness, comfort, protection from the sun in order to make the journey comfortable for them. So, with regard to the column of fire, just as a tangent, we must conclude, therefore, that the light that God provided for the Israelites at that time never departed from the camp of the Israelites. This isn't news to us. Our sages have explained this before. It also never extended beyond the boundaries of that camp either. There was good reason for this. In the desert, which is otherwise a terrible place, very hard to survive, a place which our mystical text, the Zohar, refers to as a domain of impurity. Very interesting. It's a place where we are lost, where we do not find ourselves, where we do not find God typically, and hence it's a domain of impurity. The Israelites were nonetheless the beneficiaries of the heavenly light within the boundaries of the camp. So, despite them being in this impure environment, when they were together, they experienced purity within amongst them. There was a holy light amongst them within the boundaries of their camp. Outside of their camp, it was dark. Inside, within their camp, if you imagine this clump of people, amongst them there was light. It doesn't help them to see the route forward, because that's outside the camp. And so for that route forward, God offered a pillar of fire to shine the way at nighttime. But inside the camp, there was a heavenly, holy light, which speaks to me about how we might find very distressing environments throughout the world, whether it's areas in which there is horrible crime, areas or places in which war is taking place, awful, murderous, immoral behavior. And yet, there are so often to be found within the darkest of places beacons of light, areas where people behave lovingly, charitably towards others, and seek, despite the darkness around them, to create peace of their own, even if it's within their own home, within their family, to spread love possibly throughout a neighborhood or a community. And I think that this, to me, is our modern day parallel to this rather fantastical representation of the different lights in different places, where there's dark and where there's light. I think that when we look hard enough, we find miraculous light in the darkest of places where we least expect to find it. In Ukraine, which we've spoken about a number of times over the past year, the way that people have reached out to each other, the way in which Jewish life seems to have, as usual, found a way to continue to shine a light amidst the darkness. And the way the Jewish life has even, amidst war, seemed to find a new level of acceptability in Ukraine, a place where Jewish life has often been very hard to practice. I heard something on the radio a few weeks that during Hanukkah became this symbol, this somewhat popular symbol in Ukraine of bringing light into the darkness. Apparently, I heard an article on the radio about how not only Chabad in Ukraine, but others too, started putting magnetic Chanukiot onto the roofs of their cars. Who would possibly have imagined this? The story on the radio on NPR then describes someone, a Jew, who gets pulled over by the police, and he thinks, great, this is where this philo-Semitism, where this acceptance of Jews ends. I'm being pulled over by a Ukrainian police officer because I'm Jewish and my luck's about to run out. And the police officer says to the Jewish driver of the car, I see you have a Jewish candelabra on the roof of your car. He says, yes. He says, I see you have 3 lights burning today. The driver says, yes, this is on NPR. You can hear it for yourself. I'm not making it up. And the police officer says, 3 lights. Do you not know that tonight is the 4th night of Hanukkah? Lights where one least expects it. Light, the symbol of openness, of peace, of our ability to flourish and thrive, which endures often against all odds in the darkest of places. We are fast approaching the 1-year anniversary of the start of war in Ukraine, which of all dates happens to be on my birthday, February 24th. The best thing that I can think of doing, as much as I would like to call Vladimir Putin and tell him to call this whole thing off. Right. Is to do what we can to help the light burn in places in Ukraine. I've offered you a list of organizations that continue to work to help. These are all Jewish organizations. You certainly don't listen to me. Go look online, find other organizations by all means. But by giving our support to the ends that we would like to see in Ukraine, I think is the best that we can do right now. As much as the ultimate end that we aspire to is the end of war, what we are able to accomplish is to contribute towards the heavenly light within the camps in Ukraine, where we might least expect it, and yet where it has endured. Shabbat Shalom. Page 184. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba v'yalma divrach v'yirtev yamlik malchutei becha hayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kahari ve'imeru Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam u'l'olmei olmaya יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן ביולמה וימרו Amen. Let's turn to page 185 for the Musaf Amidah. If it's comfortable for you to do so, please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואל לפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ופוקד ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגה השם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות,
ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נעריצך ונקדישך כסוד שיח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ויאמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך כל הארץ כבודו. כבודו מלא עולם, משרת שלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו לאומתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ממקומו, הוא יפן ברחמים ויחונם, עם יחדים שמו, ערב ובוקר, בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים באהבה, שמה האומרים, שמה ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד קודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. תיקנת שבת. ויום השבת ישמחו בה.
If you are still praying silently, please do continue. Take as much time as you need while the community turns now to page 203. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויאמר דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חונוב יומי חון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלל בזמן קריב יאמרו. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה. דאמירן בעלמא ויאמרו. תתקבל צלותו נבואתו דכל ישראל קודמה והונדי בשמיה ויאמרו. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו. עושה שלום ממרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו Amen. We may be seated and we turn now to page 204. אין כאלוהינו, אין כאדוננו, אין כמלכנו, אין כמושיענו, מי כאלוהינו, מי כאדוננו, מי כמלכנו, מי כמושיענו. נודה לאלוהינו, נודה לאדוננו, נודה למלכנו, נודה למושיענו. ברוך אלוהינו, ברוך אדוננו, ברוך מלכנו, ברוך מושיענו. אתה הוא אלוהינו, אתה הוא אדוננו, אתה הוא מלכנו, אתה הוא מושיענו. אתה הוא שהכתירו אבותינו לפניך את קטורת הסמים. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו. וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. על כן נקבל אחד נעלינו. היא המלכות של חיי ומניעת ימלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. This Shabbat and in the week ahead, members of our community will observe the yortzites for their loved ones, and they are Morris Klein, George Moidel, Ida Skopitz, Janet Gordon, Charles Jaffe, Lillian Schneider, Charles Conwell, Garson Kleinberg, and David Nussbaum. Are there any other
Yortzites or recent losses that I might have omitted. Oh, recent loss of Shelley Brayman and Dan Goldman. In that case, let us turn to 207 for Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'gala u'bizman kariv v'meru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shemei dekudsha le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran be'alma v'meru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'meru Amen. Mr. President, sir, I guess Dr. President, sir, if you would please announce. Oops, it's not staying relevant.
Shabbat Shalom. And I want to, again, welcome Rabbi Silbert back from his travels, that he's safe and that he enjoyed his family's presence for the bar mitzvah of his nephew. So there's several announcements today. One is, some of you know that Alice Nussbaum hasn't been with us in person at services, and she's been on Zoom a lot, but now she's actually moved to the Jewish home, and she welcomes calls and visits. You can consult the member directory or call the temple office for her phone number or address, or Dan.
If I may, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
If I may add just one other comment. Alice has publicly announced that this recent move of hers, she welcomes all the support from her community. We are her community, both by visiting and calling. Dan needs our support too. Dan is now living at home, in their home by himself, and this is an adjustment for him too. And we are his community, and we need to support him in every way that we can.
Thank you. Other items, Torah and Haftorah sign-up sheets are available online. They've been there for a while, but you just have to contact the rabbi if you need help logging onto the sign-up sheet online. Tu B'Shvat, also called the New Year of the Trees, marks the start of spring in Israel and is a time to express our thanks for trees. To help support the Genesee Land Trust again this year, call or email the temple office to make your donation. Each week, Allison will be planning a Shabbat tree based on foods associated with that week's Parsha. If you have requests or suggestions, please contact Allison. The next Jewish Movie Club will meet on Wednesday, February 22nd. Is that right? I thought it was February 28th. Yeah, for that is the Holy, what is it called?
Holy Rollers.
Holy Rollers.
It is on the back of this week's small flyer
right.
And there is a bigger sheet with upcoming shows through August outside of the table too.
Okay. And then there's one on February 22nd also with one of the movies. The next Board of Trustee meeting will be on Zoom on February 21st at 7 p.m. If you want to attend as a guest, contact the temple office or board members for instructions. And there's additional information and news on the bulletin board out in the lobby of community events. And call the office by Wednesday if you need a ride to service. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I would like to add one more thing. In reference to the rabbi's talk today, I feel that this community provides light and warmth.
Yes.
In the fact that this was a very, very, very
wonderful service, and everybody here participated.
Yeah, it was lovely. Well, I go to everyone. And thank you just for being here. We can't do it without you.
Okay, so we're going to do this to the tune of the Song of the Sea. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa b'chefso kol azim el shemo nigra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimlok nora ve'hu haya ve'hu hoveh ve'hu yiyeh b'tifara ve'hu echad ve'en sheni lehamshilo lehabira b'li reshit b'li taklit ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra ve'hu eli v'chai go'ali ve'tzur chavli be'et tzara ve'hu nisi u'manosli menakosi b'yom akra be'yado avchid ruchi be'et ishan ve'a'ira ve'im ruchi gaviati Adonai li velo ira.
Yashar Koach, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Stay warm, stay safe.
I made some coffee for everybody.
Responsibility for that, because as the Gabbai and as the Rabbi, I should have told them to do so. Yeah. So I